Hello everybody, welcome to this video where we take a look at our B2B capabilities in OIC3. We'll be looking to onboard a trading partner today, and while doing that, focus on these features, mainly the schema and documents, trading partner onboarding, connections related to the trading partner, low-code orchestration which is required for processing these documents, message tracking, and from an operational standpoint, we'll also look at redelivery of transactions. So here is the use case, which is part of an order to cash transaction that we will be using to drive this demo. So we have a product manufacturer who is a B2B, OIC B2B customer and is looking to do business with a retailer called Acme. They are exchanging a 850 purchase order via AS2, and we will see all the exchanges that can happen in that context. In order to implement this, we will go through these steps, which will highlight the features that we mentioned earlier. So now let's get into the demo. So here we have the OIC3 platform's dashboard, and on the left hand side we have a bunch of menus, and we see the B2B menu with all the configuration menus underneath. Under the host profile, we define all of the organization level identifiers and details. In the schema section, we can create customized schemas. Now, out of the box, we do support standard document types like X12, Artifact, OAGS, and we also support custom XML. In the near future, we are also adding support for RosettaNet and positional files. Now, in this section is where we will be able to customize any of these standard documents and also define schemas for custom XML. Let's quickly look at how we do that for custom XML. So I'm going to choose an XSD. The XSD now loads up and you can choose the root element, give a document version and a document type. I'll give it some name and say create. So now the schema has been created with all the details that we're given. So this is how you add a schema for XML. Similarly, you are able to now customize schemas related to any of these standards. So for example, here is an artifact transaction. If I would like to customize it, I just need to edit it, and you can see this schema editor page. All of the segments and the elements are listed here. We can add segments, add new child elements. We can modify any of the attributes of each of these, and then save them to have a customized document schema for any of the trading partner requirements. In the document section is where we define the different documents that will be exchanged, and this is where it uses the schemas that we created to complete the transaction with our trading partner. So similar to the schema page, you would see the different document standards. Let's quickly try to create something. For example, let's say PO 850, and I choose a 4010 version and 850 purchase order and click create. So it loads up the entire document configuration. Here is where we can choose either the standard schema or the custom schema that we may have created. We can also customize a new schema right from the screen. This is also the place where we will be able to define business identifiers, which will be used to track business messages once the transaction has been processed. So for example, here we could choose BG03, which is the purchase order number, to track our business transactions. Let's go ahead and save that and come out. Now moving on to our trading partner screen. Now that we have set up the documents and the schemas and everything that's related to that, now let's create a schema, a trading partner. So I'm going to call it an XYZ trading partner. Hit create. We can define all the basic trading partner information, things like contact name, email, etc. The B2B identifiers is where we define all the TP specific IDs such as interchange ID, the group ID, um, and all the AS2 identifiers. Notice how the list is curated to configure only the most important details so as to not overwhelm the user. So we can do that and we save this. Now moving on to the transport and agreement section, this is where all the important communication and transport preferences, the inbound agreements and the outbound document exchange agreements are configured. Now speaking about transports, another important B2B component is the support of protocols. So we currently support AS2 and FTP, and under FTP we also support SFTP. But let's talk about, let's say, AS2, right? So we support this, so we have to create a connection which defines the AS2 details. So let's look at the connections page. So by clicking this, we are taken to the connection page. Here you can see there's AS2 and bunch of other external applications or protocols that we can connect. So we now choose AS2. If I give and create this, this is where you can see all the details for the AS2 connection are configured. It houses things like AS2 service URL, all the security parameters, certificate, all of those details can be configured here. Once done, we can test it and save them. Once you click back, you're brought back to the TP configuration, and then you can see the connection that you configured is selected here. You can configure rest of the the transport related details here. Once you're done, you can give a short prefix to identify this belongs to this particular trading partner. This is mainly for the out of the box business integrations that will be created for sending and receiving documents via this protocol. I'm just going to cancel this out. Next, we look at the inbound agreements. This is the place where you define what incoming documents will be processing from this trading partner. So you can give a name and select one of the B2B documents that we just created. And here we will select the backend integration that will process this inbound document that we just received. So assuming that we have set up the backend integration for this, we'll just select that, choose any of these validation and functional acknowledgement settings, and then click add. So this will create the inbound agreement. Similarly, we do the same for outbound agreements as well. So this is how we onboard the trading partner. Now let's quickly look at one other aspect of the B2B setup, which is the integrations. So if we jump into the integration section, notice these two, which we were talking about, the pre-built or pre-loaded business integrations that will be generated when you onboard a trading partner, one for receiving and one for sending. We also need to have our own business processes to process the outbounds or the incoming documents. So let's take a look at this outbound purchase order. So as you can see, this is a graphical user interface which is fairly intuitive. You have drag and drop capabilities, and configuring it is very simple. Here we have the mapper, which allows us to map any of the source fields to the destination field, and we have various functions and actions which we can be used to create the integration. Now let's quickly execute a transaction to see how it's processed and how we can track those messages. So I have this instance which is simulating a trading partner, and here I'm going to change the order number here and click run. So this is going to now process this XML document, which we assume is coming from their backend and ERP system, creates a EDI payload and sends it to the other OIC system. Let's jump back here, go to observability and look at the B2B tracking section. Here we notice two sections, the business messages and the wire messages. This business message is where we look at all the processed messages, and the wire messages is where we look at the message exchange on the transport layer. Now we have these host of search filters which can easily help us zero down into any transactions. Now just looking at the timestamp, this was the latest that was triggered. You can see there were four transactions that occurred. So there was an incoming 850 document from Acme for which we sent an MDN back, and then we sent a response 997 back to Acme for which MDN was received. So we can look at additional details here by clicking on this. You can see all the properties, the message logs, the payloads that were exchanged, and correlations here. The correlation helps it to tie down all the end-to-end things that were executed. Here is the integration instance, the MDN that was received. If we click on this, it filters to that. If we click on this business message, it takes us to the business message that was processed. So as you can see, this is the GN order 2, the business identifier that can be used for filtering. This is the document that came in from Acme and it was successful. Similar to the wire message, you can see more details here. And again, in the correlations, you have links to the wire message back, the integration instance that processed this, and of course, the functional acknowledgement that we generated and sent out. Now, I want to quickly look at an operational aspect of the tracking. So we have this incoming 850. Let's assume that although this was successful, maybe the downstream application was not unable to process it, and we need to send this again, or maybe there was a failure, right? So we have this option to resubmit this. We click resubmit, and this business message has been resubmitted. Refreshing this, you can see there's a resubmit tag, and hovering on that gives us information as to who did it at what time. Now clicking on this and the correlations, we see that there's one resubmitted message, and when I click on this, it now filters to that resubmitted message. Again, going into correlation, we can see that there's a link back to the original message, and we can again resubmit this if required. And when we go back here, we can see there are two resubmitted messages. Now similarly, this is inbound, for an outbound requirement, we can now step into the wire message. Let's assume we are sending this 997. For some reason, the trading partner was unable to process it, and they have requested us to send it again. So we can now click resubmit this message, and when we resubmit it, similar to what we saw there in the business message, you can see there's one resubmitted message. When I click on this, it brings us to the resubmitted message that was executed. It was successful. Again, under correlations, we can now go back to the original message. So that was a look into our B2B capability, which is available on our OIC3 platform. So what did we learn, right? The summary is basically we are able to support both traditional and modern B2B as of today with the platform and the B2B capabilities that we provide. There is a very good trading partner onboarding experience, which is easy and not overwhelming to the end user. The low-code orchestration development helps for quickly setting up the integrations and then you know uh, uh, going to market quickly. The enhanced tracking and operation controls allows for great visibility, and taking actions as and when required from a troubleshooting and maintenance perspective. Right. So that was all that I would like to cover today. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with more.